What is up, everybody? It is Og here, back with another video. In today's video, I'm going to be showing you how to do the Shattered Halls boost at 68. Huge shout out to masonx with his video that came out. Honestly, when I first heard about this farm, guys, I didn't actually think it was these mobs who were killing. I thought it was the gauntlet on the other side and resetting them with a reset mechanic. But now that it's these mobs, I actually feel comfortable with this pool. And so I went into the stream yesterday at twitch.tv/Relias, went into Shattered Halls, started AOE farming it first on my 70 Mage, and then realized, you know what, I could do this on my 68 Mage. Hopped over my 68 Mage and leveled from 68 to 69, or at least half of the level, in about 20 minutes. I was getting up to 900,000 experience rested per hour. It was absolutely insane, the experience we got. So I wanted to make this video to show you guys exactly how I did it so that you could do it. We're going to start off with the requirements, how to get there, how to actually do the farm, what the farm is. Then we're going to go into the actual farm itself, and then just some helpful tips at the end that will help you guys along the way. So there's a few different ways to get to the spot that you need, but the spot that you need to get to is just after the first boss. It's going to be the main gauntlet area in between the first and the second boss of Shattered Halls. Obviously, you can't solo get there on a Mage right now. There are some mobs that do detect invisibility along the way, so you will not be able to get there solo. However, you can easily get there with a few different methods. One method is to do /who the Shattered Halls, and then see who is close to ending the dungeon. Ask them to not kill the side mobs. If you have to pay them, and then buy the actual instance from them if you need to. Another method is going to be to clear the dungeon yourself. And so just get a group together and just say, we're not going to kill the side mobs. If you need to pay the tank 50 gold, pay the healer 50 gold, then you can do that. If you have a paladin on your account, or if you have another tank, or you have an alt healer or something like that, it shouldn't be too hard to also just generate a group yourself and just tell them, hey, you know, I'm tanking or I'm healing this instance. Because typically it's hard to find tanks and healers, and some DPS still want to run the instance for items and a rep, and so we're just not going to kill the side mobs. So those are the three ways that I would recommend just kind of getting to that point. But basically you have to get through this gauntlet, clear out this middle trash. Once you clear out the middle trash in the next room, do not kill the side packs, but as long as the side packs are still alive, you can continue killing the rest of the instance if you want to and clear out the rest. But that's really all that you need to do, and then you're ready for the farm itself. What other requirements do we have for the farm? So first is going to be hit. I highly recommend having as much hit as you possibly can. When I initially started out doing the run at level 68, I had 0 hit, but it made it very difficult to actually pull it off because the mobs have a decent chance to resist. The mobs are either level 70, or the marked mobs that I have in the middle there's 4 of them, are level 71. A level 71 mob when you're level 68 has a 17% chance to resist you, which means that you're going to have a very, very difficult time trying to pull it off at level 68 without any hit. 17% chance. Obviously, we're going to get elemental precision in our talent tree, which is going to give us 3. So that's down to 14. And then from there, we can get up to another 13% hit on gear. You can never go to 100% chance to hit. The highest you can go to is 99, which means we have 13% hit chance that we can get from gear in order to be hit capped. You can get the 15 spell hit to gloves enchant, and then just try to have any hit gear that you hopefully have from previously leveling your toon. If you don't have any hit gear, it's not the end of the world. You can still pull off this farm without any problem, guys, and be perfectly fine. But the hit gear is definitely going to help make it a lot easier to pull off. As you can see there, you can get multiple resists in a row. I think that was 3 or 4 resists that we just got from that one mob. And so hit's going to be very important. Outside of the hit gear, I recommend going for Of the Owl gear. Of the Owl is going to have intellect and spirit. The next big thing that's going to be kind of a restriction for you is going to be the intellect and just keeping up your mana as much as possible throughout the run. This is a pretty mana intensive farm. You're constantly kiting. You're not patting them back and forth. And so you don't have great, line of sight areas or anything like that you could just kite them back and forth. So you're going to be burning a lot of mana. Trying to have intellect and spirit gear is going to help. And I'll show you my gear in just a second that I used to hopefully give you guys an idea of what gear that you can have. For the consumables, technically you don't need any, but there are some that I recommend. The ones that I recommend are Elixir of Draenic Wisdom, Scroll of Spirit 5, and Blackened Basilisk, and then a Blessed Mana Oil. I think it's Blessed Mana Oil. Maybe it's Brilliant Mana Oil. I'll have it up on the screen. I would recommend those. Basically, the idea there is as much mana per 5 as possible, and as much spirit as possible. Spirit actually scales, guys, right now at a really good coefficient. I believe it's around 60% to mana per 5. Obviously, you're not going to get all that mana per 5 back while casting. However, you will get a lot of it because we have 60% between our mage armor and between our talent that just gives us regen as well. So you're going to be able to get a lot of that mana back organically just from the talents that we have if you have a good amount of spirit. Let's look at the gear that I actually used. As an example of the gear, here's the gear that I was rocking. 5-piece T2. It helps, not 100% mandatory. Definitely helps though. And then I had imbued netherite pants for 10 mana per 5, right? So I went for kind of the mana per 5 build. And then I went Ring of the Owls for spirit. I did have MQG, Mind Quickening Gem. Unfortunately, this is the one mage that has it, so I was able to use it. You don't need it though. It's just going to be helpful. It's Xanalar and Hero Charm for the Flame Strike. Wand of the Owl, Staff of Dominance. Pretty much all level 60 gear, guys. And then just, BOE level 61 gear that I bought for farming slave pens on the off pieces. As far as the talents goes, guys, we're going to have the same build as our slave pens. Basically, we're going for maximum mana regen. We're going to pick up Palm, mainly just so we can get the Arcane Meditation and Arcane Mind. From there, we're going to go through the Frost Tree, only focusing on AOE abilities. It's all we really need for the farm. And we'll eventually fill out Arctic Winds once we've gotten through all of the talents in the Arcane Tree. Now that we have gone through the requirements and everything like that, let's jump into the run itself. I'm going to break it up into 3 parts. The first part is going to be the actual pool and how to pool all the mobs. So you're going to notice that there's 4 different packs in this hallway. You can see them on these 4 points around the mini map right here. Within each of those, there are 4 gladiators that are fighting themselves, and then there's a centurion, I believe it's called, that is just chilling there, moderating the whole thing. These mobs will fight each other until they get down to about 25% health, at which point they will reset, bow to each other, and then reset their health about 5 seconds later. Your goal is to pool the mobs at the end of that 5 seconds when the mobs are at full health. Now, they don't all hit each other at the same time in all 4 packs, so you do have to kind of control the mobs a little bit so you can aggro them at appropriate times. But what I like to do is I like to just find the first pack, whether it's the left or the right, whichever you'd prefer, wait until they reset to full, and that's when I'm going to start my run. So here I'm just watching, waiting for the mobs to lose or to gain their health back. They gain their health back right here, and so then I'm going to start. I have, Ice Barrier up, so I'm going to start with the pool, rank 1 Blizzard, and I'm going to run over. These mobs just started fighting again. I can tell that because they were fighting but near 100% health. So if you see that the mobs are fighting but they're near 100%, I recommend just starting and pulling those mobs anyways, because it's going to take a decent bit of time, probably about 15 seconds, for those mobs to get down and then reset their health. Now that we have these 2 packs pulled, our goal is to get these 2 packs controlled before we go into the next area. If we get them controlled enough, we can kite them for a long time and give these other 2 packs long enough time to reset if we need to. So what we're going to do is we're going to rank 1 Blizz, the first group that we pulled, as they come around the bend. That's going to slow them right here, while we also maintain our character on the opposite side. So here we pulled the left first, and then we pulled the right. So we're going to hug the right side. We're going to rank 1 Blizzard this left group. What's going to happen is that they're going to come like this in a triangle formation. These guys are going to come straight down here, and they're going to clump together in a decent location for our Blizzard. So here we can see those guys get slowed right there. Then the rest of the mobs come through. So now we're going to Blizzard them all together, and they kind of stack themselves, right? So now the mobs are stacked. So now I have a little bit of time, and I can kite these guys as long as I need to while I wait for these guys to reset. We're now watching their health. We see that these guys just reset, so I'm going to go ahead and pull them with a rank 1 Blizzard. I'm going to re-Blizzard these guys just to slow them before I aggro these guys. These guys have a couple seconds left to reset, and then I'm going to pull those mobs right there and then blink through this hallway. Keep on Blizzarding these 2 packs when you pull them to keep them controlled. If the second group of packs you pulled, so the one on the left and the one on the right here that we just pulled, both reset at the same time, you can just keep the mobs Blizzard behind you and then cast Ice Lance on either pack. If you ever get into a situation though where the timings are just really off and you're not going to be able to pull them safely, don't risk dying. Dying is much worse here. It's a long run back and there could be mobs on the way back. We'll get into that later. And so just kite these 2 packs through the grouping phase and then go back through here and then re-aggro them as you go back through the kill phase. It's not a big deal. However, the one thing to keep in mind if you need to do that, you cannot let the marked mobs die. I recommend marking them before you start so you can keep an eye on their health. Do not let them die. If they die, the mobs don't respawn. So don't do too much damage before you have all 4 of the packs pulled and just use rank 1 Blizzard to stack them up. The way that they aren't going to die, by the way, since I'm sure that's going to be a question, the marked mobs have around 28,000 health. You can see right here. The unmarked mobs have about 22,000 health or 20,000 health. I think it's 20,000. So they have about 8,000 health more than the unmarked mobs. And so you can kill the unmarked mobs without killing them. Okay, so we now have all the mobs aggroed, and now we're going to try to get them into this little area here. And so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to be dropping a couple blizzards here to slow the mobs that are really close, and then I'm going to be trying to move forward and then drop another blizzard. You're going to notice though that I'm also going to pop Icy Veins and MQG. Obviously, a lot of people are not going to have MQG, and so they'll just have Icy Veins. Icy Veins is enough. But the reason why I'm going to pop Icy Veins is because that causes my Blizzard to tick more frequently. And so I'm actually, ticking about 30% faster. And so I have a better chance to apply my Blizzard Slow to the mobs, including the resist chance. That just helps me drastically be able to control the mobs. So here, I'm going to Blizzard one more time. I see a lot of the mobs are coming through. So I'm going to go ahead and run forward. I'm going to pop all my stuff and then Blizzard right on the corner. Now you can see how quickly the Blizzards are casting. And so even if a mob resists, it's going to be hit again within the next 0.4 seconds or something like that. And so it'll get slowed with a really high chance of getting slowed. I'm now going to kite around in a little bit of a circle right here, just trying to get these mobs to stack up. Then we're going to blink over to the left. Now you have two options when you blink to the left. You can Nova them, or you can just go for another Blizzard. At level 68, I recommend going for another Blizzard. The reason why, you're probably going to get a resist. You have a decent chance of getting a resist. If you try to go for the Nova, then you'll need to Cold Snap Nova again. Cold Snap is a 6-minute cooldown. Your invisibility is a 5-minute cooldown. And so the only thing that you should need to worry about is the invisibility itself, not the Cold Snap as far as being able to continue. So I just recommend using rank 1 Blizzard again, just to get the mobs ticked with Blizzard. And then once you do that, all the mobs are pretty much grouped and you can go into the actual killing phase of the mobs and try to take them down. So we now have all the mobs controlled. I've gotten down the kill phase to about 2.5 to 3 minutes for the kill phase itself. I'm going to show you guys exactly how I do that right here. There's two different methods that we can use for the kill phase. We can try to keep them in this corridor here, or we can kite them all the way back. If you have boosties, you can't run these mobs by the boosties because when you go invis, there's a high chance that they will aggro onto the boosties and kill the boosties, and then the boosties will have to run back. So if you do have boosties in the run, keep them within this corridor. Otherwise, you do not have to keep them within the corridor. The name of the game here, guys, is to try to pump out as much damage as you can while keeping the mobs controlled. The easiest way to do that is to pop a rank 1 Blizzard for 2 ticks. Always 2 ticks because you have a decent chance of getting resisted, so make sure that you get 2 ticks so you don't get resisted. And then you'll step away for 3 seconds, and then max rank Blizzard from there. That will give you the spatial distance you need to get off a lot of that max rank Blizzard, and you can blink from there if you need to, but really you could just use rank 1 Blizzard for 2 ticks and then run away and then max rank Blizzard from there. You also want to be cutting across the halls. So let's show you what that means. So basically here we come out of the grouping phase, we have all the mobs stacked, I blink across to the side. What happens here is that the mobs in the front are now going to cut like this, and the mobs in the back are going to cut like this. They were pretty stacked from the grouping phase, but this is just going to cause them to stack even more. So if I cross the hall, and so if I go to the opposite side basically with that blink, they're going to cause the mobs to stack up even more. So now I have a good amount of distance from the mobs because I just blinked and because I'm, on the opposite side. So I pop out the max rank Blizzard. Here though, I run ahead of the mobs, see when the Blizzard's going to drop off, drop down another Blizzard. They're getting way too close though, right? At this point, I know that I need to run so I don't get off the full Blizzard. And so instead, I'm going to pop over to rank 1 Blizzard, run after 2 ticks, and then into a max rank Blizzard. So there you can see that we did rank 1 Blizzard, 2 ticks, ran away a little bit, max rank Blizzard. Always have the front mob targeted or a mob very close to the front because he will be your lead indicator. If he gets to you, he can hit you. Now, if you have a situation like this where the mob ran too far ahead, we can go ahead and get a Nova because it's going to be really hard to stack those mobs together. Be cognizant, though, that you could very likely get a resist on a Nova. And so this is another reason not to use Cold Snap during the grouping phase because you might need to use Cold Snap to get a Nova on him. You're using Mage Armor the entire time, guys. I actually never put on Ice Armor. If you want to, you can, but Mage Armor is going to be so important just to regen your mana as much as possible. And so the entire time I'm using Mage Armor. So you're not going to be able to slow the mobs if they hit you. And if they hit you, they're probably going to hit you for 5k. So you can't let the mobs hit you. It's not too hard, though, to not let them hit you. Here, we're reaching the end of the hallway. If we go any further, there are likely going to be paths forward that we do not want to aggro. So we're going to cut across here. Now, what I'm going to do here is I need to change areas on them. This is the perfect time to pop a Palm Flame Strike if you want to, because you're about to reverse fields, as I call it, which is basically we're at the end of the hall. Now we're going to go back to the front of the hall. And so here we're going to slow the mobs. We're going to work towards the right. We can see that the mobs are starting to stack. We actually get hit by the Warhound behind us because we went too far. Do not go too far behind, or otherwise you could aggro the group. We're able to salvage it here, but it does get very, very hairy if you ever pull these Warhounds. And then at that point, we're going to blink ahead. Now I have these mobs. I'm reversing the field. I pop a Nova there. Typically, I would just go for rank 1 Blizzard, just like the grouping phase. And now I'm just trying to get as far away from the Houndmaster as I can. Now, basically, there is a Houndmaster with the 2 Hounds. That Houndmaster has 20,000 health, which is the equivalent of a Gladiator. And so now I need to stay max range so I don't get hit by the ranged abilities. I start focusing. And then I need to also continue killing the gladiators. I can't do too much damage though, because then the centurions will die before the houndmaster does. And so I don't want to cause the mobs to basically not be able to reset. So number one priority here is to kill the hounds. But this is basically a hard mode of the kill phase. And so it doesn't get much harder than this. There is a pack that respawns every about 2 hours. That is the exact same pack as what we just pulled with the warhound plus the archer. And so you can have basically the same kind of pull every 2 hours if you want to, or you can kill them separately, but we'll get into that in a little bit. But now what I decided to do, because we don't have any boosties, I'm going to use the long haul. I'm going to try to kite them as much as possible. If I would need to kind of double back in that area while having the houndmaster, it's going to get a lot more complicated because he can shoot me as I cut across. The houndmaster can slow you with, it's only about a 15% slow, but he can slow you, and he can just also do a decent amount of damage. So I don't want to kind of deal with him. Outside of that, I'm just going to kite the mob straight down the pathway. This is one nice part about being level 68 is that you continue to kite down the pathway if you don't have any boosties. You can see the 2 hounds just died there. We got the 1,000 experience for them. And then this is allowing the rest of the mobs to be taken out. We don't need to kill the houndmaster because it's the back houndmaster. It's not the one that's actually in the area, which we'll talk about in just a second. And so after we get all the mobs dead, which is right now, we could pop in Viz, and then that is the end of the pool, guys. And so I recommend having the kill tracker recore. I'll have it linked down in the description down below. Reset it every time, and once you see Shattered Hand Gladiator 16, because there's only 4 mobs per pack, then you can go ahead and reset. Obviously, we got 2 Warhounds, which made it a little bit more difficult, but typically we aren't going to have them. It's pretty much that difficult, though, guys. It's basically Slave Pens, but without Rain of Fire, is a way that somebody in my stream put it yesterday, and I think that's a pretty good analogy. You kite them back and forth with Rank 1 Blizzard, Max Rank Blizzard, just constantly kiting them throughout the entire time, and then you're able to take them down pretty easily. As far as the actual gold per hour, each of these packs right here is going to have about 4 to 5 raw gold that you're going to get. And so just from the raw gold itself, you're going to be making some decent money. You also tend to get 1 to 2 greens per pack as well. And so you can make some decent money from the greens. And you actually have a chance to get even Blink Strike because these are level 70 elites. The gold per hour though, just from looting, if you have a full group of boosties, it's going to be about 80 to 100 gold per hour, so it's not going to be crazy. And if you're doing it solo, it's probably going to be just a little bit more than that, probably like 120 to 140 gold per hour. So this is more for the XP or for the opportunity to boost others because they get rep and a very good amount of experience. Once you get back though, you're ready to go. So that's the nice part. There's no resetting of the dungeon. There's no 5 lockouts per hour. Your only limitation is the cooldown of your invisibility every 5 minutes, and then you can rinse and repeat. Like I said, we got the kills down to about 3.5 minutes to 4 minutes. So we're basically kiting the last mobs, the marked mobs, after all the other mobs are dead, waiting for invisibility to be up at this point. So there's a few important things to know. The first is going to be where to put boosties. Once you hit 69, again, I don't recommend doing it at 68, or if you're level 70, you can boost in here. Typically, people in my server are paying 250 gold per 20 resets. So what does that mean? 12.5 gold per reset, right? And each of those resets are 5 minutes. So you can get roughly 600 gold an hour. But this is where I put the boosties. So there's a little statue right before the main room where we do the kill phases. You can see this little statue right here. I put them right behind there in that lava pool, and then we're good to go. The second thing to watch out for is this pack right here that we're about to aggro. So every about 2 hours, it's either 90 minutes or 2 hours, this pack right here respawns. Now this Houndmaster and these 2 hounds pack back and forth here. I'm pretty early on in the kill phase, so I go ahead and aggro them, and I decide that I'm just going to kill them in the kill phase with everything else. It's kind of a bold strategy, though, if I'm going to be completely honest with you. You definitely can take a lot of damage if you do it, especially if you have boosties, because you won't have as large of an area to kite. You can pull it off, though, as we'll be able to see right here, but probably the easier method is just going to be to kill them separately. One important thing to know is that if you cast any spells in the area of these 2 packs and you hit another mob, there is a very solid chance that you're going to pull the side packs. And so with these Rabid Warhounds, for example, when you're trying to just pull them completely separately, like let's say they fully reset, and then you're just trying to kill them separately, there's a good chance you can get the side packs. So the best way to mitigate the chance of that happening is going to be to not pull them until they pat all the way back to this room. So they pat pretty much like right in front of this room. This is the grouping room, as I call it. And so you can wait and just chill back by the grouping room until they get close enough, wait till they're in the middle, and then try to pull them. That should hopefully not aggro the side groups, which should make it a lot easier to actually kill them. Otherwise, you're going to have to try to kill them during the actual pool itself, like we did here. Makes it much, much more difficult, especially since we have to kill the Houndmaster, because if we reset, the Houndmaster just resummons those dogs. So if we aren't able to kill the Houndmaster before, the main targeted mobs would die, when we reset, the Houndmasters just resummon the hounds, then we're going to have to do it all over again. So do not pull them mid-pool unless the mobs are still pretty high, because then you won't have enough health on the marked mobs to be able to kill them. If you do pull them during the pool, just try to stay max range, because the range abilities do get pretty rough to handle. The hounds run a little bit faster than them as well, so it's kind of a pain, but you'll be perfectly fine. For the rest of the pats in the instance, there are 4 mobs at the front of the instance if you ever die and have to run back in that could respawn. I believe they respawn in 4 hours. They do detect invisibility, so you cannot run by them. You either need to kill them or have somebody put a soulstone on you or res you past those mobs. So try not to die, because otherwise that could become an issue. As I said though, I believe it's 4 hours for their respawn, so that only applies if you're going to be going past 4 hours straight. There's also 1 mob past the first boss that is a stealth rogue that could potentially also aggro, and you just have to kill him. It's just 1 mob, should be perfectly fine. That's the majority of the things though in the farm that could cause issues. Hopefully you guys are able to get down this farm. If you guys have any questions, definitely hop into the stream. Feel free to ask me any questions you guys have. I'm going to be trying to do this as well to boost up my alts. One last thing is that you need to be level 65 now to get in here. You used to be able to get in at level 55, but actually during the stream yesterday, there were people who went outside the instance after already being inside the instance at like 62, 63, tried to go back in and got a message saying you need to be 55 to get in, which actually was just the message, but it actually was 65 that they needed to be to get into the instance. So it looks like Blizzard Stealth nerfed the level range to get in, so you do need to be 65 now to actually get into the instance.